Now to the U.S. Just 4 days until a presidential election, and a record high number of Americans have already made their choice. More than 85 million Americans have voted early, in person, or mailed in their ballots. In Texas, more than 9 million people have voted, and that is more than the state's total turnout in 2016. In the final days of the campaign, Democratic candidate Joe Biden and Republican candidate Donald Trump are scrambling to motivate and energize those who have yet to cast a ballot.
Have a tremendous victory. It's going to be a victory like none other. It's the most important election of our lives.
There's nothing beyond our capacity. So honk if you want America to lead again.
Our Washington Bureau Chief Jackson Proskow is with me. Jackson, this final push for votes is something else.
It really is, Donna, and welcome to Washington. This final push is all about locking this up for either candidate because right now, both of them have potential paths to winning the presidency. I want to show you a map that gives you a sense of this final campaign push here. The states that one or both of the candidates will be in over the next few days, those northern Rust Belt states, if they look familiar, it's because those are the ones that Donald Trump won in a squeaker last time around. Now he's polling even or slightly behind Joe Biden, so he's really on the defense there. And then when you look at southern states like Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia, Trump won them handily last time. This time around, they're in play. So Trump is really on the defense in old and new territory this time around. His strategy to try and lock this up in the remaining days has him holding 14 rallies between now and Election Day. For Joe Biden, the strategy is really about focusing on Pennsylvania because that is one state the Biden camp believes that they could lock up early and deliver a decisive result on election night.
Jackson, the early voting numbers are astonishing. What could that record turnout be a sign of?
It's a sign of a few things. One is nervousness about how Election Day itself will unfold in the middle of this raging pandemic and with fears of potential violence at the polls. And to give you a sense of how astonishing this is, you mentioned those numbers in Texas. More than 100% of 2016 turnout is already there. Other states like North Carolina are in the 80 to 90% range. This is right across the board. It's really, really remarkable stuff. The other thing to keep in mind here, though, is that people may be trying to read into these early voting results, figure out what they mean. We don't know right now because we don't know who these people are voting for. What we do know is that it could mean for a long and potentially very interesting election night because they'll pre-count some of those mail-in results, but then results could shift to a different candidate as the in-person votes are tallied up.
Yeah, it's going to be a long night, couple of days, possibly weeks. Jackson Proskow, thanks. Well, back in 2016, Donald Trump lost Minnesota by about 45,000 votes. This time, he's hoping his tough record on immigration might make the difference. Heather Yourex-West is in Minnesota tonight.
St. Cloud, Minnesota is a quiet community about an hour's drive from the Twin Cities. Less than 70,000 people call it home. But within the last decade, a growing number of residents have moved here from other countries.
A surge of refugees, specifically from Somalia.
Families of new immigrants, mostly refugees, were attracted by jobs at nearby meat processing plants. But adjusting to the sudden influx of new faces, more than 1,500 people in just a few years, was difficult for some who felt the community was changing too fast. Much of Donald Trump's campaigning in Minnesota has focused on this issue. At rallies in the state, he's called Somali refugees criminals and terrorists.
And what does Biden now propose while the pandemic still smolders around the globe? Increasing refugees by 700% from the most unstable, vulnerable, dangerous parts of the world.
21-year-old Ikrima Molji came to St. Cloud as a refugee 6 years ago. She now teaches high school and says members of her community are tired of feeling attacked.
We have a president of this country that are coming to our communities and specifically targeting us.
The problem, perhaps, with that strategy is refugees are not illegal immigrants. Many have gone on to become U.S. citizens, and in this election, they can vote.
Our community are so excited to vote out Trump.
And Minnesota's Somali community isn't alone. Greg King works with many in the state who have come from Southeast Asia.
We're talking about, 5 to 7% of the electorate here in Minnesota. So it's definitely more than enough to swing an election.
Immigrants who've grown tired of being targeted, eager to use their vote to fight back. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, St. Cloud, Minnesota.